What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Jay and welcome back, man, to another video. Now today, y'all, we're gonna be reacting to 5 most disturbing Reddit threads. Now before we get into it, you already know I'm about to say shout out the creator, and further ado, y'all, let's just get straight into it.
Needs $700,000 on November 6, 2015.
$700,000. There ain't no down in the chat what y'all do with $700,000, man. First thing I'm doing, I'm getting my mama out this crib, dog.
A Reddit user named Bangarang made a deeply concerning and odd post on the site reading, "Need $700,000. What do? I need it by January 2016 or I'm dead from the mob. What are my options though?"
Oh, $700,000 by January 2016 or I'm dead by the mob. I ain't gonna lie, homie is cooked.
Now, if this was posted in subreddits like r/advice or r/helpme, people would have taken it more seriously. However, for whatever reason, Bangarang decided to post this plea for help in r/sadboys. This is a subreddit for the fans of the Sad Boys music collective that emerged in the early 2010s, primarily associated with Swedish rapper Young Lean and his music group Sad Boys. So, a completely unrelated post like this left most people confused about what it meant. Not sure if this is real. So confused. What is this? Some users wondered if this was some obscure reference to Sad Boys music. Is this a reference to Lean being worth $700,000? However, most users quickly realized that Bangarang was serious when he began responding to some of the less serious joke comments with sincere replies. "Let me ghostwrite your next mixtape. I need all the help I can get." But that's when the post took a disturbing turn. One user jokingly told the OP to end it by jumping off a bridge and shoot himself while falling.
Dang.
However, instead of getting offended, Bangarang replied with something that made everything way more unsettling. "Think they'll get to me before I can make any moves." Alongside this, he posted a link to an eerie photo. A group of men standing in the middle of a street with multiple cars lined up behind them.
Oh, he cooked. I am gonna lie, right in this picture, he is cooked. They are pulling up to his crib right now with the force.
Framed suggested that OP took it while hiding in the bushes, as if he was watching from a distance, afraid to be seen. At this point, people wanted answers. And after some back and forth in another thread, Bangarang finally explained what had gotten him into this situation. "Was involved in a fight where an 18-year-old kid was killed. I was on drugs and had a bad temper. I was always protective of my friends, especially John. John was in a band and was taking off. He had a Facebook page, so he deactivated it. He made a new one. One of his friends that made a new one got real mad that he deleted the old page and thought he didn't want anything to do with her or his old friends because of the new fame and band. John tried to explain to her that wasn't the case. When he tried to, I peered over John's shoulder, read their texts, and got heated."
My real question is why people would get themselves in this type of predicament knowing damn well they can't get themselves out of it, bro. That should be having me mind-blowing, stupid. Like, are you really wanting to get yourself killed over some dumb shit like this?
"I started trash-talking the girl. She got her boyfriend's friends to meet me and my friends out in the desert for a brawl. One of the guys there was with the gang members' guys group and pulled out a gun."
If you ever meeting up for a brawl, just know it's not going to be an equal brawl. Just telling you that right now. It's not going to be an equal brawl. Someone's pulling out the blicks and someone's going to get that shit clipped. Because ain't no way you're just going to just duke it out. No one's just going to duke it out. They're going to have their mans watching, and when the shit gets too crazy, you lost. You might even see, you might see your maker at this point. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
Killing him. The dude that pulled out the gun in the first. My friends grabbed the gun from him and ended up shooting the guy and to shoot me and my friends. One of my friends grabbed the gun from him and ended up shooting the guy and killing him, the dude that pulled out the gun in the first place. Then, after the fight, I violated my probation. The cops were already after me for drug use. They found out I was involved in the fight and the shooting of the guy, and they added the battery charge. I wasn't charged with murder, but was involved in the fight, which is why they added assault and battery charges, plus the probation violation. But I continued with drug use and violated my probation by leaving the state. Now I'm sobered up, I just turned 23, and I'm in a real bad place with some people from the past."
That's crazy,
While these
bro.
responses provided some important context for OP's situation, it still didn't explain why the mob was after him now, or how having $700,000 would help him stay alive. By this point, people had stopped joking. It was clear that this was most likely real. One user finally spoke up, saying what everyone else was thinking. "First of all, why are you posting this here? Second, run, get out of town." To which OP replied, "I got no one." After learning about his sheer
shit, even if I don't got no one, shit. Shit, I'm gonna be on the freaking highway, buddy. I'm gonna be hitchhiking, put my thumbs up like these and shit. Like, I'm getting far away from here. If I have a bounty on me for 700,000 or I'm dead, you ain't see me in that town no more.
Helplessness, user PizzaMan2345 chimed in with some detailed and practical advice to help Bangarang escape with his life. Get yourself into jail and tell them to safely escort you to an airport afterwards. If you warn them about the mob and spread the word, the police will look stupid if you die soon afterwards. Then, if you do get to the airport, take several planes to several places and settle down somewhere far away. No matter how uncaring a police department is, they should listen to your plea for help. It might also help if you have a writer friend who can tell the whole story if they don't escort you. Let the police know, as a last resort, that they will be flamed online for not dealing with the mob themselves and for letting you loose, only for you to die right after. This of course involves you being in jail for a while, which if not the case leads me to say that you should simply leave the country now. Use your head, don't drug your problems away, either work hard and loan the rest or just run. Unfortunately, we'll never know if this advice helped him or not.
I think he,
A day after
I
making
think
the
he might be
original post,
good.
Bangarang stopped replying to any more comments and hasn't posted anything on Reddit since. As for if the story was legit or not, we have no way of knowing for sure.
I
The
think he
Bangarang
might got
account
snatched
was likely
up.
a throwaway since it was created the same day as the post. I also tried reverse image searching the picture he posted, and while there are many similar looking images online, I couldn't find anything that matches the OP picture to a T and predated the Reddit thread. And since Bangarang didn't provide any clues about his location, I couldn't find any relevant news articles from that time either. Most users under the original thread believe the OP was likely caught and killed by the mob. However, it's been over 9 years since the original post with no updates sent.
So boy dead. Wait, you got people like this that be saying shit like this, bro. So his boy dead and he's gone. He ain't coming back.
Dog operation. On the 31st of March, Reddit user City, State posted a disturbing entry on the Reddit Bureau of Investigation subreddit. The title of the entry
What could have been the reason why someone operated on my
dog? It read, I originally posted this to another sub, now deleted, and was insisted that I repost this here instead. I live alone in a suburban area, and when I go out, whether it's for work, social gatherings, shopping, or whatever, I leave my dog, he's a Labrador, to play in my backyard with plenty of food and water. He's a pretty healthy dog, normal weight, and had nothing wrong with him.
Somebody operated
I live in
it
a pretty
with it?
safe neighborhood and never had anything bad happen to my dog while I was away. Yesterday, I came back home from work in shock to see that my dog had been stitched up.
What?
In shock, I immediately rushed to him, called and took him to a vet. I visited the vet for checkups, so the vet knows him. Strangely, the doctor who was inspecting him said that whoever was operating on him actually did a pretty good job, and for whatever reason took out part of his fat. The wounds are of both his lower and upper belly, pictures here. Luckily,
How the hell did the dog let that happen? Did they knock the dog out? I hope they knocked the dog out first, but why are they doing this? Why would they took a piece of dog fat and stitched his ass back? Like, that is so weird. That is disturbing as fuck. Imagine having a dog at the crib and you come home and you see your dog stitched up. Don't know why. Don't know what can be in it. You don't know if it can be a tracking device in the dog.
In any danger, but the doctor said he would be in some pain for some weeks, normal for wounds. I was prescribed painkillers and antibiotics for my dog. I was also given a cone for him to wear so he wouldn't lick his wounds. Naturally, I asked him if a Labrador came into the vet today, as in yesterday, and he and the receptionist said no, and they said to their memory it's the first time they saw my dog that day. So this got me and my dog...
I apologize, the dogs were barking.
Either someone operated on him or someone took him to another vet and got him operated for whatever reason. In the meantime, I have reported this to the police and have called other vets around my town and no luck as of yet. Due to this, I am still unsure what could have caused this. Who and why would someone take parts of fat out of my dog? I don't have any enemies nor any past relationship partners come to mind.
That's just mad weird. Like, don't touch my dog.
Neighbors, and they said they didn't notice anything strange around the neighborhood or near my house. I also don't have any cameras. People on Reddit,
there's your sign. Get your cameras, man.
Happened. Some wondered if this was the work of a medical student looking to practice, or a budding serial killer. However, neither of these makes much sense. No sane medical student would risk ruining their career by operating on a random dog when there are safer options like ethically sourced cadavers. As for the potential...
I feel like if I took a dog right out of its own backyard to save it, I would try and contact the owner or wait around or explain what happened. Why would you have a stranger dog operate on an out of the goodness of your heart and not stick around and explain what happened. This seemed really, fishy to me. Yeah, this is mad weird. And in addition of this, if I was a pass by and noticed an injured dog alone in the backyard, I would not have returned it to the yard after treatment. Like, I would assume it would be neglected or abused. So if they returned your pup, they must have seen or known how it got injured.
Serial killer theory.
Oh,
Why would
no.
they cut open a dog only to stitch it back and return it to the owner instead of just disposing of the body? But there were some more reasonable theories as well, stating that the dog must have injured its stomach while jumping over the fence. Someone then saw the wounded dog and took it to the vet for treatment before leaving it back in OP's yard. Or maybe the dog successfully jumped over the fence only to get hit by a car.
Hopefully
And
it's
the person
good
driving
news.
the car took it to the vet and dropped it off after the operation. However, a major flaw in both theories is why the person who took it to the vet didn't leave a note explaining the situation. If it was an accident, maybe the person didn't want to get in trouble. But even then, leaving an anonymous note would have been the right thing to do. Some users also consider the possibility that someone might have shot the dog with a pellet gun, either by accident or on purpose. A comment from user Banana Phone quickly rose to the top as it offered a more plausible explanation for what might have happened during the OP's absence. That rubber thing sticking out appears to be a Penrose drain, which is most commonly used to allow a wound to weep and drain through the hole where it comes out of the skin, which prevents the skin from closing into a pocket and turning into a huge infected abscess, which requires secondary treatment and antibiotics. This is most commonly seen in my personal professional experience after bites from another animal, as the bacteria in dog/cat mouths can be difficult to totally disinfect after the fact and often leads to abscesses. While the general consensus is that dog mouths are cleaner than cats, there's still plenty of bacteria in your average dog's mouth that could lead to infection. That drain will need to be removed in a few days to a week after the risk of infection is passed. My guess would be, with the size of the incision, another dog got into a fight with yours, whether it jumped the fence into your backyard and picked the fight itself, or somehow your dog was accidentally able to be out of his fence, and the owner felt guilty but did not want to get sued or put their dog down. I double this hypothesis because if they
That's
put him
crazy
back,
if that's
they knew
the
where he
case, though.
lives, and that means he was probably inside the fence when the incident occurred, and hiding the conflict probably means his dog has a history of aggression, to the point where it jumped your fence and attacked. I suspect a pellet/gunshot less because anyone who would shoot a dog in its own yard is probably not going to have the moral compass to get it treated. Another user, Decent Writer, also backed this theory with a personal anecdote reading,
But what's confusing me is that motherfucker had that much time to go to the vet after what the incident happened, and homie's still not home by the time that they have the dog. Like,
I'm
what?
100% sure someone who has a dog with a bite history attacked your dog and they did not want to get caught. I have a dog with a bite history. If he bit someone or an animal a second time, it would be disastrous, and myself and my partner would both be in jail. They likely got off with a small charge the first time and are on probation, already paying out a ton of money to whoever was the first victim and cannot risk a second person suing them. We've been going through the process for our one dog bite for over 2 years.
Damn, imagine going through
Step
that.
of the way, and I'm sure that's what has happened here. I'm sorry, it sucks so much. Hopefully they feel guilty and come forward to you one day. In which case, you have 2 years from the day of the incident to sue them in a civil court case. I know this because I'm on the other side of that civil lawsuit as we speak. That said, after further questioning from other users, the OP shared additional details about the situation, debunking many of these theories in the process. Edit. People have been asking about my fencing. I am about 5'8", and the main fencing is taller than me. The side fence is about half my height.
Oh
However,
yeah,
there
then
are
how
other
the
properties
did
around
another
this
dog
fencing.
get in?
So if another dog, for example, got in, I would think the neighbors would have noticed, as the other dog would have needed to go through their properties first before reaching mine. People also are asking if my dog is known for jumping over stuff. No, he's not. So that's why I don't think he hurt himself while jumping over the fence. But that doesn't mean another dog jumped over to him. One of my neighbors, right next to the one of my shorter fence, has a dog of his own. But it's a small poodle, and I don't think that could have done that to a Labrador. Plus, neither of them has shown aggression to each other, from what I've seen. They usually don't even pay each other's mind. No other organs are missing, according to the vet, just the fat removal. It was not a car crash. He has no bones broken, bruises, or anything like that. There was blood, but only around him, a normal amount, not anything crazy.
Let me
So
take
either
my
someone did
creatine,
it,
y'all. I just
cleaned
got
it,
back
or it
from
was done
work in the
elsewhere.
gym.
The picture was taken the day after the vet, the day I made this post, after they examined and gave him a proper clean around the wounds. At least one of my neighbors in the surrounding fencing has a camera, to my knowledge. The footage has been examined by the police and myself, and we
Oh,
couldn't see
who's that
anything
big
out of
dog
it.
right there?
The police said they will be going around to see for any other footage.
What you mean? If this is really the footage, whose dog is that right there, huh? That ain't no small little dog.
And myself, and we couldn't see anything.
And it seems like it has no leash.
The police said they will be going around to see for any other footage. However, with this additional information, the OP mentioned something that made many people question whether any of this was real to begin with. They mentioned that they were gone out for work from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for 5 hours, which is not typically enough time for someone to take their dog to a vet, get a complete surgery, and drop it back without getting caught. As one user pointed out, this whole thing strikes me as suspicious. I've worked in both private practice and ER. OP said they were gone for 5 hours. Even if it happened right when they left, 5 hours is a really short amount of time for this.
See, that's what I was saying off the rip.
Anesthesia, sedation, clipping, cleaning sometimes takes longer than the actual suturing to remove hair, debris, dirt, etc. Then flushing and cleaning the wounds, cutting the skin to remove sections that wouldn't heal well, then actually suturing it, including drains, post-anesthesia/sedation recovery. White dogs plus a bunch of blood requires a bath to remove all the blood. Not to mention the time it takes to get the dog there, check the dog in, get consent for treatment, discharging and explaining meds, paying for it, getting the dog back to OP's yard. But this makes me wonder if it could have been done in this time frame if the surgery wasn't done at a professional veterinary hospital.
Bro, somebody just knew what they was doing.
Had a surgical background and did everything themselves off the books. However, this is all speculation, and unfortunately not long after this update, the OP deleted their account and didn't post any new updates on what happened. But before that, the OP did make a post stating that the police were investigating this as a criminal case. However, given their complete silence over the past 4 years, it's unlikely we'll learn if anything ever came of that.
Weird, bro. That's just weird. Don't let me catch you touching my dog. you gonna turn into a dog. Guaranteed, bro. You gonna be in there fighting the dogs. Ain't no way, bro. Like,
on January 16th, 2021, user Pagan Princess 22 made a Reddit post recounting her strangely terrifying experience at a hospital. The post read, "A woman posing as a nurse stole my blood from an Indiana, USA emergency room in 1996 or 1997 when I was 5 or 6 years old.
What?
Hello everyone, I'm not sure if this is the correct place, so please feel free to direct me to a better subreddit if there is one. I've flared it as a cold case because it happened 23 years ago, but there were no charges filed, to my recollection, and I don't remember."
Girl, it's a lost cause, bro. That's 23 years ago, bro. You know how old you is now? Nobody. I know you can do that is illegal, but like, do you know who was it? They said Indian. Yeah, Indiana. Do you know whoever was up in Indiana who did that?
It happened 23 years ago, but there were no charges filed, to my recollection, and I don't remember a case being made from it. This is a strange story, and I was
you ain't getting that.
maybe 6 when it happened, so I don't have a lot of the details.
You ain't getting none of
I told
that.
my younger sister about this story, and she encouraged me to look into the incident more and see if I could find out either who this person was or if there was a larger pattern of behavior during the time frame. I'm interested in any information you all have to offer / can find on the matter.
And you gotta think about it. That's like so long time ago, so it's like that stuff's gonna be even more hard to find. Like, it's more sketchier back then than now
As
to
I truly
find
just
stuff
want to
like
satisfy
that.
some curiosity. I'm 99% sure any statute of limitations is up, and I'm not interested in reporting something so weird and from so long ago to the police for them to tell me there's nothing that can be done. Now onto the story. When I was around 5 or 6, I got a pretty bad nosebleed that wouldn't stop. I eventually started throwing up big clots of blood as well, and my mother took me to the ER. This would be in/around the Sunman or Indianapolis area in Indiana, USA, but I do not know the name of the hospital. At the time, beds were separated only by curtains on ceiling racks and not individual walled rooms. My mother had left my room to speak to a doctor. I know she left, and a woman I did not know came in shortly after she left. She was white, had medium brown hair, and looked to be in her 20s or 30s. She was wearing a blue scrub shirt with puppy dogs on it and unmatched pants. I want to say she was not wearing scrub pants, but rather jeans or maybe sweatpants. I know they did not match her shirt, which stood out to me. The other nurses and doctors I saw only wore solid colored scrubs and were all matched. She said she needed to take some blood and pulled the tools to do so from her scrub pockets, not a phlebotomy card. She stuck me and started drawing blood, somewhere around 5 to 7 vials of it, but potentially more. On the last vial, we heard my mom and a doctor coming back towards the room. She hurriedly ripped the tube from my arm before the last vial was full. It spilled some blood. She did not give me a band-aid or gauze. She just left me.
What the hell does this girl got up? Like, what's her problem? Like, people will really be doing crazy shit and have no remorse. Like, they just be standing on business when they be doing that. Like, they go straight to it, and like, that's that. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, I have no words. Like, I'm literally no words. Like,
bleeding,
no words.
shoved everything back into her pocket, then ran from the room. She ran to the left, and my mom and doctor entered from the right. The doctor said a nurse would be with me soon to draw some blood and run some tests.
Goodbye. See this? Like, bitch, you see this right here? You see that on the floor? Blood on the floor. Bitch just came in and drew something on me. Like, especially his ugly ass. Look at him. He's like, it's okay. We're gonna go get a doctor, okay? No.
I told him a lady had already taken my blood, and he asked what she looked like and where she went. I described her. He turned wide-eyed to my mother and said, "She doesn't work here," and ran out of the room to the left. I heard some loud voices. There was a lot of commotion, but I don't remember anything past that point.
Got that fresh blood too, bro. Only 5-6 years old. She needed that young blood.
Busy and now scared that some strange woman had my blood. I've never been able to find out what happened, who this woman was, and if she was ever caught, or if this type of thing was happening across the country at the time. I have no idea. Let me know if there's any other information I could provide to make it easier to find out what happened to my blood. Edited a typo and to add, my mother is not a great source of information when it comes to my early life, or her life, or anything really, as she has some of her own issues. Several years ago, when I was a teenager, confirmed the details I remembered, then refused to talk further about it and asked me not to bring it up again. She claims she does not remember the name of the hospital, the name of the doctor, or other details I was asking for at the time.
Damn.
What makes this story so terrifying is how real it feels. Most children are already afraid of doctors and needles, so the idea of someone posing as a nurse to steal blood is horrifying. One user responded with a theory stating, "Are there any chances that you are adopted?" Suggesting that the mysterious woman was OP's real mother who wanted her blood for DNA testing. And while this is still a bit out there, it could explain why OP's mother refused to give any further information on what happened that day.
I freaking hate needles, dog.
This theory not long after it was posted with a comment reading, "I don't believe so, no. I've seen my original birth certificate and it lists my known parents as my birth parents. I also look very similar to my mom and sister." The most plausible theory came from user OSnapdragon22, who suggested that OP might be misremembering details that make this situation a lot more horrifying than it actually was, stating, "Nurse here, phlebotomists sometimes wear different scrubs. It seems highly unlikely that someone stole your blood and put them in tubes. Those tubes are full of various additives for different diagnostic testing. If I were to steal your blood, I would use a bag instead. Not like I would steal blood or anything, just making a point. It seems highly weird that a civilian would have the necessary tools/tubes to complete this lab draw. Many blood draws are done with equipment carried in scrub pockets."
I feel like maybe this girl, like, she needed to, like, she needed blood but didn't know from who. Oh, if you get some blood from such and such, then we can get something popping. And she was like, "Say no more. I see this little jit in the corner. I'm finna go take his blood right now." And that's probably exactly what happened.
So not having a card is not atypical. Supplies in hospitals, especially needles, are required to be locked per Joint Commission/DNV for obvious reasons: drug users, children. Also, blood draw carts are actually an infection risk in some cases. Lastly, hospitals are extremely stranger unfriendly. Every nurse and tech knows who's supposed to be there and who's not. Even when you're a coworker that has been floated from another floor to assist, you are treated as an outsider, and many coworkers still stop and ask you what you need/what you're doing there. This was most likely a flashbulb memory instance, as you are 5 and have a childlike recollection of events, and said yourself that your family/parent is a poor historian. I hope this provides some reassurance for you. I'm not trying to diminish what you're saying, just mentioning that from my experience it seems highly implausible. P.S. A doctor saying someone doesn't work, that is also ridiculous, as doctors do rotations, don't stay on one floor permanently, and typically do not know all staff members working in a given unit at a time. Pagan Princess 22 is still fairly active on Reddit, but she hasn't posted any new information about her story.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
crazy.
One day her mother will come clean about what she knows, and will finally learn what happened to OP on that day.
Bitch, don't touch me.
Poisoned.
poison.
In May of 2013, a user made a chilling confession on the Off My Chest subreddit with a disturbing title that read, "My mother has poisoned me. Ever since I
Bitch, please. Now tell me right now, you ain't just let this girl poison you.
Reddit with a disturbing title that read, "My mother has poisoned me. Ever since I became an adult about a decade ago, my mother has been against me moving out of the house. I finally got a job as a line cook 3 years ago. My mother and the rest of my family, which includes my sister and father, has been against it, mainly saying that such a job cannot sustain me," which was true. They also said I would hate working, which turned out to be false. About a year and a half later, I quit due to health reasons. The following spring, I got a new job as a computer programmer. While they seemed supportive at first, my mother and sister, who I lived with, gradually became hostile. Eventually, I moved out of the house. About a month later, I lost my job, and about 3 months later, moved
That's the worst feeling ever, bro. Like, I feel like, guys, do not leave the house unless you're 100% ready. Like, I know sometimes the vibes can be a little rough in the crib, and, like, you just really want your own space and own peace of mind. But sometimes it's the right thing just to suck up whatever's happening at that crib and just wait till you know when you have the munions to keep you stable and not crawl back. Because once you crawl back, you're going to be feeling a certain way, like, damn, I failed.
Everything was cool at first, but as I was getting calls from recruiters and going to job interviews, they gradually became more hostile again, accusing me of being distant and not caring for them. However, they seemed to be very controlling and hateful of the fact that I wanted to move out and wanted a decent job. So last month, I finally got that job as a computer programmer again.
Okay, nice.
I had just enough money to relocate to the new city. They became very hostile starting a few days before I left, accusing me of not loving them, of hating them. On the day before I was scheduled to leave, my mother gave me 2 of the styrofoam ramen noodle cups and tore that cardboard covering that normally comes with it and threw it away. I was suspicious that they would try to sabotage my life, so I was careful in not trying to anger them. She gave me a few more food items, which I didn't use, to take on the trip with me. When I arrived at my new city and entered my hotel room, I chilled out. I was to go to work the next day, so after the first day of work, I ate a cup of ramen noodles and felt ill. I knew that feeling because my sister fed me something that made me feel the same way in late 2011, which I then assumed was because of my recent illness. I felt weak, lightheaded, and short of breath. I drank water to make me feel better because that's what I did last time that happened to me. Over the week, my mother kept calling me, making sure to remind me to eat my ramen noodles.
Man, fuck them ramen noodles, man. That's what I'm talking about, bro. You have people over here trying to sabotage your life, bro. You over here trying to glow up. And it'd be your own people sometimes. It'd be your own people.
I was short on cash that
I know how that feels.
Paycheck. I never told her that I ate it. I suspected then that I had been poisoned, and after doing some Googling, I believed it was cyanide. Now, that is something that you should never have to think that your own mother would do that.
Exactly,
So
bro.
I resisted that thought because I simply could not bear to think that. So I went to cyanidetest.com and ordered a kit, and I tried it. Now, look at the graphics and the video on this page. Now, here are the results of my test. I guess I'm going to have to call the cops, and I will never speak to my family again.
Bro, he stand on business. I respect it, because, like, some people would be like oh, damn, that's crazy, and let your people, you know, live or whatever, but no, he said, fuck the bullshit, call the cops, and that was that.
Results exposed the truth the OP desperately didn't want to believe. He was being poisoned by his own family.
That's
Thankfully,
crazy.
the amount of poison in 1 cup of noodles wasn't enough to be lethal, but eating that second cup could have easily delivered a fatal dose. Luckily, he was able to escape with his life. After reading this post, the vast majority of people urged OP to contact the police and stay away from his family. And that's exactly what he did. Unfortunately, the police weren't as helpful as everyone would have hoped. Update 8:45 a.m. I am currently in Topeka, Kansas.
Hold on, you said the police was not helpful, bro? See, that's the thing, bro. I hate when police be seeing shit in broad daylight. Oh, man, I'm getting poisoned by my family, bro. Y'all need to do something. Oh, it's whatever. It's your family. You be alright. Like, brother. This is illegal.
Town in a government office building, which has a police department. I visited the Capitol Police Station here and spoke to an officer. I showed him the evidence, and he said he could do nothing about it since the package was opened and might have been contaminated. So, does anyone have ideas?
Crazy.
Had things ended here, this could have gone down as one of the most unsettling mysteries in Reddit's history. But unlike other disturbing Reddit threads, this one surprisingly had somewhat of a conclusion. You see, even though this was a throwaway account, OP returned to Reddit in October of 2013 and gave an update on his whereabouts. I was only able to file a police report, but only that so far. The police do not have enough evidence to investigate. I've gotten no contact with my family. I currently live in a cheap motel in Topeka, Kansas.
Oh,
Yesterday,
shoot.
after getting home from work, I work for the Kansas state government as a software developer. The lady at the front desk told me that my mother called them to speak to me. For security reasons, the motel needs both the name and room number, and my
How the fuck do you know where I'm at? How do you know what exact motel?
My mother didn't have my room number. She didn't even attempt to call my cell phone, which makes me believe that she just wanted to know if I was staying there and where. And a few months later, he posted one last comment assuring everyone of his safety. And by the way, I have moved out of state since making my last thread with this account, and am doing very well with a nice job, and am in better health.
Amen,
To think
bro.
that this story would have taken a much darker turn if the OP hadn't grown suspicious of the food his own family gave him on his way
That's
out.
crazy. Imagine if he kept eating that junk too.
Missing coworker. On the 31st of July 2020, Reddit user SoothBB made a post on the Reddit Bureau of Investigation subreddit seeking clues to help locate their missing coworker. The post read, "On Wednesday, July 22, a coworker of mine abruptly up and left work before the end of his shift and hasn't been seen since. 1 week later, a text message is received from him containing only 3 photos. Does anyone recognize the locations shown in these photos? I work in a
Hell
lab that
no.
makes prescription eyeglasses in northern Ohio. Last week Wednesday, about 6 hours into our 10-hour shift, around 7:10 p.m., a coworker of mine got up from his station in a hurry, left his bag with personal belongings at his desk, iPad, Bluetooth headphones, a prescription, phone charger, a book, and a couple other knickknacks, and walked out the door and didn't return. No one's seen him since. Some of my other coworkers thought he was just sick of the long hours and decided to quit, but that just doesn't make sense why he'd leave behind his personal belongings and not say anything. We tried calling him that same night, but his phone would just ring until it went to voicemail, and by the next morning his phone was turned off. My boss said he got a hold of his mom and that she hasn't seen or heard from him, but didn't seem too concerned as she said he had a history of living somewhat of a nomadic lifestyle in his past. She thinks he may have relapsed and owed someone money or just ran off with some girl. Apparently they aren't very close and don't have the best relationship. I know he had a history of drug abuse, but from everything I've gathered in the 2 years that I've worked with him, he cleaned his life up after an arrest in 2014 or 2015 for drug possession and had been clean since. He always acted normal around me and seemed to be living a productive life. On the subject of the pictures, a couple days ago after work, I received a group text message that was sent to me, 2 of my other coworkers, and 6 other numbers I don't recognize. It was from him and contained the 3 pictures I linked, no text. I tried calling and it rang once then went to voicemail. When I called again, it went straight to voicemail. This whole thing has me feeling very uneasy and I don't know what to think. Does anybody here recognize the location of where these photos might have been taken? Below this was an Imgur link to these
Low-key,
3
no,
pictures that
wouldn't-
OP supposedly
like, I
received
wouldn't know
from
what
their
to do.
coworker. All 3 of these pictures looked like someone had taken them in a hurry while possibly running away from someone or something. If the OP's story was true, it painted a deeply alarming situation. However, most users remained skeptical, and as time passed, more evidence emerged suggesting that this might be a hoax or part of an alternate reality game. $5 says this turns out to be an ARG. For instance, one user tried to extract the embedded data in the 3 images to see if they had any GPS information, only to be met with confusion. I tried extracting the first picture's EXIF data. It says it was shot on iPhone on 7/7/2017, 1322. It looks like the photos are in the early morning or night. Do you think the 1322 time is right? 3 years ago also. Interesting. A few other users also pointed out significant inconsistencies in how the OP described the location, stating, "Yeah, I'm not a fan that they just said Northern Ohio. Like, is it Cleveland, Akron, Toledo, Sandusky? Way too broad. Same, I'm from Toledo and no one ever refers to Northern Ohio. Northwest Ohio, yes. Northern Ohio raised a flag for me too. I'm from Akron and no one says that. For us it's Northeast Ohio." A few months later in November, SoothBB returned to Reddit with a new update and somehow things had grown even more mysterious than they were the last time. I wish I could say we found him or at least closed up any loose ends, but I can't. Shortly after the thread was closed by the mods, a police report was indeed filed. However, in mid-September, I was one of several people that were laid off from the lab we were working at, so if there were any updates on his case after that time, I'm not aware of them. I've done several searches of his name since I left the company to see if any media outlets reported on him, but I personally haven't been able to find anything. The OP also attempted to deny the allegations that the whole thing was made up. Understandably, many people were suspect of my story, and I get that, but I assure you I've not made anything up, nor have I exaggerated details. I got some slack in the original post for not filing a police report. I realize now that even though nobody else was willing to, I should have stepped up and done it myself. At the time, my perspective was that because I don't know this guy on a personal level outside of work, it really should be up to someone closer to him to do that. But rest assured, a report was filed. Some people did try to take things seriously and even pointed out the strangely timed layoff. I know this might be far-fetched, but could your former company and boss somehow be involved? The guy disappears from work, your boss tells you shouldn't worry about it, take his belongings, and refuses to access them to help find the guy. Then your boss says he filed a report, but apparently he never did, if the name doesn't come up in the databases. And finally, knowing you are investigating and possibly asking too many questions or drawing too much attention on the case, he fires you and never contacts you again about this case.
Yeah. That's kind of weird.
Inconsistencies in Sooth BB's story, the overwhelming majority of users were convinced this was just an attempt at an ARG. I still think it's an ARG. I hope it's an ARG. No offense, OP. But we will likely never know for sure. Unfortunately, shortly after posting this update, Sooth BB deleted their Reddit account, leaving us with no way to uncover the truth.
I wonder why they be doing that, bro. That's kind of weird. Oh, y'all, hey, man. If you guys enjoyed the video, man, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to drop a like. And I'll see you guys in the next one, man. Peace. Love y'all.